What is...
It's able to accept those impediments to keep the system secure. So we'll see examples of these, and I'll be aware of some as we go through the course. So let's keep going and introduce some terminology about some different concepts of computer security. And over these two slides, I think there are 6 different terms we'll introduce, and we'll see the relationship between them. First, in a computer system, we talk about assets, the things that we want to protect. So the user of a computer or a computer system, and when I say a computer system, it could be an individual computer, it could be a network of computers across a building or a campus or across the globe. So it's not just a single computer. So we want to protect system resources. So there are 4 types of assets or resources. We distinguish between hardware. We'd like to protect the hardware, that people cannot get access to that hardware or use it in an inappropriate manner. Software, we'd like to protect the software running. For example, the integrity of that software cannot be compromised. If I run a web server on my computer, web server software, that web server software responds to requests from people out on the internet. If the software itself is compromised and does something unexpected, then that's a problem. So we'd like to protect that software. So software is an asset. Data, the information we store, is an asset. And the communication lines, so the links between computers to form a network, we also treat as assets. So we'll see, I think, a table later giving some examples of those 4 assets. But they're the 4 types of things that we want to protect in computer security. We talk about vulnerabilities. These are weaknesses in the system. So some weakness in the hardware or software that can potentially make an attack be successful. And let's go directly to the example to see those definitions of corrupted, leaky, and unavailable. I think I have one. I hope so. Here's the 4 assets. Actually, I'll go back, go through the terms and give the example. So corrupted, leaky, and unavailable. So an asset which is corrupted doesn't do what it's expected to do. For example, software which is corrupted, the software doesn't do what it was programmed to do. That's a problem. Leaky means that that asset reveals information. It leaks out information, and that compromises confidentiality. So if we talk about our communications line, and we say there's a vulnerability in the communication line such that it leaks information, then that's a potential problem. For example, our communication line could be a wireless link from my laptop to the access point at the back of the room, and that inherently leaks information, and people nearby can capture the packets that I send and see the information I'm sending to the access point and out beyond on the network. So that's a vulnerability, an example of a vulnerability. And some vulnerabilities can make assets unavailable. A vulnerability in hardware may mean that the hardware no longer works. It's unavailable for the normal users. So systems, unfortunately, often always have, well, I think all systems may have vulnerabilities. Vulnerabilities arise because it's complex in creating those systems. Complex to write software without bugs. Complex to build hardware without flaws. Complex to keep track of data. So there are often vulnerabilities. It's hard to avoid them. Talk about security policy. An organisation, a university, a company, in your home, you may have a security policy. That specify how the system provides the security services. So how do we protect the assets? So we define a set of rules to do that. A simple example is with SIT, an educational institution, we have policies for who can access student data. So this is about confidentiality. For example, can you access the grades of other students? No, a student cannot access the grades of other students. That's the policy. One student should not be able to see the grades of other students. Another policy may be a faculty member can only see the grades of the students they teach or the students they advise. They cannot see the grades or the contact information of every student. So there are a set of policies that we have to run the business. And the security policies, they define those rules, and then we'll use techniques to try to implement those policies. How do we make it such that a student cannot access the grades of another student? Well, we need to implement some controls in the website, the registration website, such that a student, when they log in, cannot see the grades of other students. So we'll implement techniques we'll use techniques to implement the policies. Threats are potential violations of the policy. So we have a set of rules. A student cannot access the grades of another student. A threat is if something can allow a student to potentially access another student's grades. That would be a threat for our system. And that's usually a system that provides the grade access, a vulnerability, then that presents a threat. Maybe a student can access another student's grades. And when a threat is carried out, that is, someone does use that vulnerability to access other students' grades, that's called an attack. So a threat is something that may go wrong. An attack is an attempt to do wrong. An attack may be successful or fail. And a successful attack leads to a violation of the security policy. So a successful attack may be if a student can log in and see other students' grades due to some bug in the registration system. We'll see later some examples of attacks, but we often classify the types of attacks. The active and passive I'll describe later. They'll make sense from the examples. But inside and outside attack. An inside attack is initiated by an entity that is allowed to access the system. For example, a student inside SIT is allowed to access the registration system. If they perform the attack, we can say that's an insider attack. An outsider attack is someone unauthorized. So someone outside of SIT who doesn't have a login account performs an attack to access student grades, and that's called an outsider attack. And when we talk about access control and logins and passwords, we'll distinguish between authorized and unauthorized access. A countermeasure is a way to deal with an attack. And there are 4 approaches to deal with attacks. We either want to prevent them, stop them from happening in the first place. If we cannot prevent them, at least detect them. So we've got no way to prevent the attack from happening. When it does happen, detect, there's an attack taking place. And if we can detect, we can respond. Maybe we can close down the system temporarily, and eventually recover, restore data from backups and so on. So countermeasures are ways to deal with an attack. Unfortunately, even if we have countermeasures, then vulnerabilities still may exist, leading to risk to assets. So our assets are the things we want to protect. Because of the threats, there are risks to those assets. And our aim in computer security is to minimize the risks. We accept that there may be attacks. We want to minimize the risks involved. Do risk analysis of security systems and try to prioritize what are the highest risks and what is the highest level adversary, a malicious user? What's another name for a threat agent that you hear? What do you call someone who breaks into a computer system? What are they called? If you hear in the news someone broke into a computer system, what would you call them? A hacker. So sometimes we refer to the threat agent as the hacker. It's just that in some systems, or in the past, the hacker was used to refer to people who build things with computers and hardware, so not necessarily a malicious person. In this course, I'll usually just talk about an attacker or a malicious user. Note that in some cases, they don't need to be bad, the attacker. For example, it may be a legitimate operation to attack a computer system, like law enforcement, the police. They perform an attack on a system, they have the legal authority to do so, and they're doing it for good. So when we talk about the attacker, it doesn't necessarily mean they're a bad person. It's just saying that with respect to the computer system, they are the adversary trying to break the security. A threat consequence is what goes wrong, what happens as a result of an action. So people are trying to give definitions of these, and there's what's called an Internet Security Glossary. You can find it listed. There's a new version, and it classifies different types of threats and attacks as these sets of unauthorized disclosure, deception, disruption, and usurpation. And it goes through and gives details of that. And if you hopefully flick through a few slides, you'll see that document, or a cut down version. Let me see if I record it. Yes, if you go to page 25 on the handouts, you'll see I've included the list of these threat consequences from this document. So I want you to read them. I won't read them all today. I'll just highlight some of them and just explain what it'll show. It's really just classifying threats and attacks, giving them different names. So the first consequence is unauthorized disclosure. So there's a circumstance whereby an entity gains access to data which they're not authorized to do. So they get access to data when they're not authorized to do. What causes unauthorized disclosure? What actions cause this? Or they classify the action of exposure. And they give some examples really of exposure. Could be deliberate exposure. That is, someone gets access to the data and deliberately gives it to other people, publishes it on a website so they can get access. Human error. Sometimes it may not be a malicious action. Maybe a normal user accesses a confidential document within, say, SIT, and then makes a mistake and makes that confidential document available to people outside. Due to some permissions problem or some human error, they send an email to the wrong destination. So that's an example of exposing information and leading to unauthorized disclosure. So what this document does is classifies the different consequences of threats, what can go wrong, and some actions that lead to those consequences. Interception is about getting access to data as it moves between 2 points, usually across a network. We can intercept data in a Wi-Fi network, for example. When I send a packet from my laptop up to the access point, the nature of Wi-Fi is that packet signal is broadcast in all directions, and you can sit with your laptop and intercept, get a copy of that packet. So that's an example of interception. So you can do it in wireless networks, or you can physically access wired communication links and perform theft of data. So obtain, for example, the solutions to the exam, or the exam questions as I send them across the network to someone to print. And you can do monitoring of systems called wiretapping. Emanations analysis is about looking at the signals being sent and observing about who's communicating and what they may be doing. One example, I think we won't get time to cover this semester, was that people can use microphones to listen in to the operations that a CPU performs when it encrypts data, and use that to determine secret keys so that they can decrypt data. So there's been studies where people, for example, someone is encrypting data on a laptop, and they place essentially an antenna that listens in to the CPU. The CPU makes a noise, or the computer makes a noise when it does things. Very, very quiet noise, where they can distinguish between the different noises when the CPU performs different operations. And from that, steal secret keys from that laptop. That's an example of emanations analysis. What's emanating out of the laptop is analysed to obtain secret information. Have a read through the others, and there's the threat consequence of deception. Deceiving someone using false data or something that people believe to be true. Masquerade means pretending to be someone else. Falsification, using false information, replacing valid data with false data. Repudiation is denying something's taken place. Deny the origin of the data or deny the reception of the data. So non-repudiation is the service of stopping that. Disrupting services, disrupting data. Corrupting data, corruption. And usurpation is about stealing information. Misappropriation or misuse, theft of service. For example, an example of theft of service is that you are not an SIT student or employee, but you sit outside, you work somewhere else, you sit outside and use the SIT internet access. You log in and you get by some floor allows you to access the internet via SIT's Wi-Fi. That's an example of theft of service. The service is the internet service being provided for SIT students and staff. If someone outside uses that, then that's misappropriation. So some of the terms you may have heard of already. What I suggest really is just read through those, and you don't have to remember all of them, but be aware when they come up in the rest of the course what they mean. In a moment we'll get to specifics about network security and look at some examples of attacks, but before that, here's a picture that tries to cover what is the scope of computer security. First, what does it show? The blue boxes are some computer systems, some computers, for example, whether it's a single user computer, but most likely a multi-user computer. And what's a computer? Well, some hardware running some software, in this case shown as processors, software processors, the circles, and accessing data. So we think about computer systems, some hardware that runs software, and that software accesses data. And we may have multiple computer systems that communicate with each other via some communications line or network. And then we have the users. These two circles are outside of each of the boxes. So there are different aspects of computer security, and what we'll cover in this course, some of the things. Often the users, the human users, make requests for the data by using the software. Before they can use the computer system, often we'll have some guard technology and user authentication is one of our early topics. And one authentication technique you know of is passwords. How do we ensure that the student that accesses the computer system uses authentication? And that's one of our topics. Once the user is allowed to access the system, another thing we want to do is supposed to, or analyse which files you're reading and accessing. That's a threat on confidentiality. A threat with respect to integrity is that someone can access the existing files and modify them without us knowing. So that modifies the integrity of the file, or create new fake files. And the threat on the availability of that data is that the files may be deleted, denying normal users to access the files. So there are threats on the asset of data, and those threats can be against the services of confidentiality, integrity, and availability. So for today, trying to pick up on some of the terminology we use and come back to refer to that as we go through the course. One aspect of security is network security. So what we want to do is look at some attacks and some services that we want to provide, usually network security, communication security. Yeah. Just as a reminder, make sure you read through the course website. You've got 2 homework tasks at the moment. Read the course website and read that threat consequences and actions document. That's 2 homework so far for the next week. On the course website, you'll see that we have different assessment items, 2 exams. We'll also have some online quizzes, and I think most of you have taken some of my online quizzes before. And in fact, a few students said that they were a bit easy last semester. Address that in a moment. So with respect to communication security, there are different definitions of what it means. In this course, we don't care too much about where the definitions come from, but an organisation called ITU has come up with a standard, we're old now, and they defined or separated into attacks, mechanisms, and services. And that's what I want to focus on now. Talk about different attacks on networks. We will talk in this course about the mechanisms we have available to try and prevent the attacks, detect the attacks, and a set of services that we try to provide in network communication security. So let's go through the next slides and look at attacks, mechanisms, and services. A security attack is some action that tries to compromise the security of our information facilities. We've mentioned attacks already. A mechanism is a method or technique for stopping the attack, preventing it if we can, detecting it if we can't prevent it, and if we detect it, to recover. An example of a security mechanism is encrypting. Before we send the data across the network, we try to prevent the attack of someone intercepting and releasing the contents. We will talk about at least 6 security services which use a selection of mechanisms to try to prevent the attacks of the attacks. So in the next slides we'll go through some attacks and list some key security services and make it easier to do. The security services, the ones that I'm using come from some different documents and some textbooks listed there. But what is a security service? Well, we said that we have security policies, rules that the organisation tries to implement to keep things secure. Well, they select security services to implement the policies. And the services are implemented by security mechanisms. So the policy again is one student cannot access the grades of other students. We need to select from one of our upcoming security services to implement that policy. What security services? Well, here are the 6 key security services. So this is a good one to remember. The next question is non-remediation. What students can access control and Let's go through the 6 security services. These are things that we commonly want to provide in network security and in general in computer security as well. And I'll go over the ones that are maybe easier to understand. Data confidentiality. We often want to make sure that the data is kept secret or confidential. So that's a security service. Protect unauthorized people from accessing the data. Data integrity. We often want to make sure that the data cannot be modified along the way. In a network especially, we send a message from A to B. We want to make sure that the message B received is exactly the same as what A sent. That someone in the middle didn't modify the message. So data integrity is about ensuring that the data received is exactly the same as what was sent by an authorized entity. Authentication up the top is about ensuring that the people we're communicating with are who they say they are. You receive a message from someone, you want to make sure that the source is the right person who they say they are. They're authentic. We will look at techniques for providing data confidentiality, data integrity, and authentication, and the techniques that build on cryptography. So the next topic is cryptography and introducing encryption and other cryptographic techniques, which are used primarily for data confidentiality, integrity, and authentication. The other services. Access control is about preventing unauthorized use of a resource. And 2 examples we'll see in this course. One is firewalls. A firewall is a device in the network that controls who can access into a network, and also maybe who from inside the network can access out, and what they can access. You may know in SIT we have a firewall, and one thing that firewall is configured to do, we have some internal servers in SIT, database servers for finance department and staff to use just inside SIT. So the firewall is set up that is, if anyone outside of the SIT network tries to access one of those internal servers, they are blocked from doing so. So that firewall provides network access control. It may also be configured to stop internal users from accessing outside resources. For example, stop all students from accessing Facebook. So the firewall could be implemented to do that. So that's access control. The other form of access control we'll see an example of is access control. Many computers nowadays are multi-user systems. It's not just a single user that uses the computer, there are multiple people that use the same computer. So when multiple users use the same computer, we want to control who can access which files. You shouldn't be able to access anyone else's files. And some of you may have logged into the ICT server. You have accounts on the ICT server, and access control is used to ensure that one student cannot access the files of other students. We'll look at how that can be done. The last 2 services. Availability, making sure the system is available and usable. The best way to think about it is from the attack perspective. A denial of service attack is making a system unavailable. And non-repudiation, I've mentioned before, is protecting against people denying something took place. To make things in the network, protect against people denying that they've sent a message and denying that they've received a message. So that's what non-repudiation is about. In different computer systems and networks, we may select from these services to try to implement. Sometimes we don't care about all of them. So we select the services that we want to provide to our users from that set. And then for those, we use different mechanisms. So the last thing for today, I think, is to look at some examples, some classification of attacks on communication lines or in networks in general. And we'll go through 6 types of attacks. then they're grouped into two sets. So there are 2 attacks which are considered passive attacks, and then 4 attacks considered active attacks. So there are 6 attacks in total. 2 will be passive, 4 active. I will not explain passive or active until we've gone through some of the attacks. So let's look at the attacks of release message contents, traffic analysis, and the 4 down the bottom. And then we'll compare passive versus active. First attack, and here's a picture from a textbook that uses 3 users to illustrate the attack. We have Alice and Bob, 2 normal users of our computer system, our computer network. Bob wants to send a message to Alice. That's the normal behaviour here. And we have a malicious user, our attacker, Darth. And this attack of releasing the message contents is the one that we often think about when we think about computer security, is that if Bob sends a message to Alice, if Darth can intercept that message as it's passing through the network and see the contents of that message, then that's an attack. Essentially, the contents of the message sent from Bob to Alice were only intended for Alice. So if someone else can see the contents, then we say that the contents have been released to others, to unauthorized users. A simple example of where that can happen, I've used before, is when I send something using Wi-Fi on my laptop, I send it to a web server in the US, then the packets containing that information go from my laptop wirelessly up to the access point on the back of the classroom, follows some cables down to the 3rd floor to the computer center, and then goes out through our internet service providers, some routers, and it goes probably up to Tokyo, and across the Pacific between some methods of containing the many links to get to the destination. And an attack of releasing the message contents involves any one of those links, or the devices in between, accessing those packets and reading those packets. A simple one that you perform is when I send packets in access form, you can use your laptop to wirelessly capture those packets and see packets that were sent. Or, if you're a little bit devious, maybe what you could do while I'm not in the room, you'd plug a small device into that packet the cable goes in, and then plug it into your so that every packet that goes to that access point is also sent to your laptop. And so you see that, you see the cable, and that could intercept all the packets going to the access point, so you can access them from after the network, and you can intercept messages that were sent to your laptop. And that's what you can do. rides and who doesn't. And what Darth does, one employee, he sends a message to Alice saying, please increase the salary of Darth by 10,000 baht, signed by Bob. So if Darth sends a message pretending to be Bob, then in this case it may be Alice, the finance officer, to inadvertently increase the salary of Darth when she shouldn't have. So this is easy with emails if you trust the farm address. As we just saw, it's very easy to send an email with a fake farm address to anything that would be. So, considering emails, how can we stop this from happening? When I get an email from someone, I look at the phone address, how can I be sure that it's from that person and not someone pretending to be them? Given that we just saw it's very easy to do a fake address. So we need some techniques when we're doing business, doing financial transactions. We look up, there are some encryption-based techniques that allow us to do that. So encryption plays a role in allowing someone, the receiver, to verify when they get the message, even if the phone address is fake, they can verify is this true or not. So digital signatures are one approach, and that's based upon some encryption techniques we'll go over in the next topic. So that's a masquerade attack. Pretend to be someone else. Don't do it. Don't send me emails from other students. Just because I did doesn't mean you should. And the famous comic that says that captures that is on the internet. Nobody knows you're a dog, because on the internet, again, there are no inbuilt mechanisms that easily allow us to verify who's sending something. So when you're communicating with someone by email or accessing a website or by chat, how do you know the person at the other end is not a dog? 3 more attacks to finish today. A replay attack. Again, Alice is the finance officer. Bob is the director. Every month he sends an email to the finance officer saying increase the salary, decrease the salary. Last month, Bob sent a message to Alice saying increase the salary of Darth by 10,000 baht. That was a valid message. Darth did well. That was just for last month though, and it shouldn't be increased again this month, just for last month. And when Bob sent that message, Darth intercepted that one, the old one. And he recorded a copy of that message. And then this month, although Bob doesn't send a message to Alice saying increase the salary, Bob replays the old message. So that this month, Alice receives the old message and thinks that it's another request from Bob, the director, to increase the salary of Darth by 10,000 baht. And now his salary's gone up 20,000 baht in 2 months. So a replay attack involves an attacker recording a copy of an old message and then resending it to perform some harm. How could we prevent such an attack? Or detect an attack? How could Alice detect that this message is a replay of the old message? What would Alice need to do that? To know that this is the same as the old message. You're going to need to implement these mechanisms. What would you do? How do you check something's old? Date, a timestamp. So include the date and time on the message is being sent. So every time Bob sends a message, the first one was dated from last month. If Darth replays that exact same message, it would have the old date on it. So what Alice does is checks, the date of that message I just received is 1 month old, I'll ignore that. Now we need more than just the date, we need to have some verified date. Some date that Darth cannot modify. So we need more of that. We'll see again, encryption and timestamps play a role there. Modification, Bob sends a message to decrease the salary. Is overloading that server, maybe sending many packets to the server so that the server slows down and eventually cannot respond to Darth's requests. This is a denial of service attack, in that Bob is denied access to the normal server, and that's inconvenient or causes problems for Bob. And denial of service attacks we'll look at in one topic. It turns out in a number of places, very hard to stop. They're very easy to perform from the attacker's perspective. We have a topic on denial of service attacks. We listed 6 security services: authentication, data integrity, data confidentiality, access control, availability, and non-repudiation. Remember those 6? We've gone through 6 types of attacks. And maybe tomorrow we'll talk about the difference between passive and active. But how do we stop the attacks? We use security mechanisms. And there are many different types of security mechanisms. But importantly, most of them use cryptography. So our next topic, we'll cover cryptography, and we'll talk about encryption or assignment, digital signatures, authentication exchanges, and so on in cryptography. That lists some of the mechanisms that we'll cover, but not all. But they'll come clear when we go through cryptography. Let's stop there. Tomorrow we'll talk about passive versus active and finish on computer security strategy before we look at cryptography. We've gone through some of the concepts of computer and network security, and we looked at 6 different attacks on network or communication security, and they come up in computer security as well. Releasing the message contents, which is really just, sometimes we say we intercept other people's data and see the data when you're not authorized to see it, and traffic analysis, analysing the communication patterns, so not necessarily looking at the data, but looking at how often you send messages, who do you send to, what times you send them, and from that inferring some other information. We gave an example yesterday with that email that I sent, or that the student sent to me. We showed that it's very easy to do a masquerade attack. With many internet applications, there's no checking of who the real sender is. So with an email, it's very easy to send an email with a fake from address. So if someone just checks a from address, they can be confused or tricked into thinking it's a message from someone else, so a masquerade attack. Replay is resending an old message to give some benefit. Modification, modifying messages. So intercepting a message, not letting it go through to the destination, but first modifying it and sending it to another flow. And denial of service attacks, where someone overloads a server or causes a server to operate such that the normal users cannot access that server. They deny access to that service. So we saw an example of a masquerade attack. If we have one topic that talks about, one lecture that talks about denial of service attacks, and we'll see some examples there. And over time we may see some of the others, but just before we move on, a simple example of releasing a message contents. That is, 2 users are communicating. For example, I'm going to communicate from my tablet in this position to a website and access that that website, and then via my laptop I'm going to try and intercept those messages and see if I can see what the two users are communicating. And it turns out it's quite easy, especially with Wi-Fi. So I think most of you will do the networking language with me this semester, and in that we will do what I'm about to do now. We'll learn the commands of how to intercept Wi-Fi traffic. I'm not going to show you the commands, I'm just going to do it just to illustrate. What I've done is, there's nothing to see yet, but what I've done is I set my computer up, my laptop, to record all the packets that it sees, that it receives. Now with Wi-Fi, when I use my tablet, which is also using Wi-Fi, it sends a signal to our access point at the back of the room here, in the room behind me, and the nature of most wireless transmissions, especially for Wi-Fi, is that that signal goes in all directions. So when the signal goes from my tablet up to that access point, the physical signal is also received by the antenna on my laptop. And all I've done is configure my laptop such that any signal it receives, record a copy of the packets contained by that signal. So when I send something and I'll access, let's say, the ICT web server, of course you cannot see it, but on my tablet, if I access it, you can access the ICT web server on your phone, and maybe I'll capture your packets as well. That's very hard typing. If I access a Moodle website or other websites on my tablet, then I suggest if you have your laptop open, access different websites through your phone, using in this case the Wi-Fi, so WSIT. And what my laptop's doing is trying to record everything that everyone else is sending. Now, let's see if this works. So I've been recording, and I'll open some software of the record. I'll stop the recording, and then show you what I see. This is a record, and it's hard to see at the moment, this is a record of all the packets that my laptop recorded over the last couple of minutes. I was recording that when I started the lecture, and there's, I think, hundreds of thousands of packets that have been recorded. They were not sent by my laptop, they were sent by other people nearby, including you, including my tablet. Now there are many packets there, and I don't have time to analyse them all, so I'm going to look specifically for my tablet. I don't want to look at your packets, because that would be a bad thing to do, so my tablet had an IP address of 10.10.102.250, and filter out those 260,000 packets and did a subset of the packets that was the packets sent by or received by my tablet using Wi-Fi, and there are many of them there. Let's see if we can get something that we can recognise. Filter out to see the HTTP messages, because it's actually using the web browser, and specifically, so this works. TCP port 80 to equal signs. And there's nothing there. Hang on. As always, with demonstrations in the network, there's always something will go wrong. Let's see some packets first. Let's see what we can see from others. Let's look for some HTTP messages. Some of these are not relevant, but if we scroll down, I'm sure we'll find some that you may recognise. One more try before I give up. Here we go. Here you may recognise some of them. These are HTTP messages. We'll focus on, I'll scroll down in a moment. These are GET requests. If you recall how HTTP works, the browser sends a GET request to a server. Get this web page. And here I've recorded from other people's computers in this case. They did it in different ways. Now, I'll look too closely as to what websites we're browsing. But you'll see many requests for different websites. And if you look in the detail of those, we can actually see this was accessing Instagram, for example. So this was from a web browser or an application, probably on someone's phone or tablet, that was accessing Instagram to look at photos or to those photos. And that was done by computer, really not on my laptop, in fact it was not my tablet in that case, it was computer on the SIT network with IP address 10.10.103.115, possibly one of you, or it could be someone out nearby. Okay? So the point is, it's very easy with Wi-Fi to perform an attack where you release the message contents, because I now, as the attacker, see the contents of the messages that other people are sending in the vicinity. If we're using wired networks, I need physical access to the wires, but still possible. So that's to illustrate that even though I may not capture my tablet's packets, I need to search Alfonso, it's very easy to do a release the message contents attack. And from that, you can also do traffic analysis, because from those 200,000 packets I just captured in a matter of several minutes, I could then start analysing and see which IP address sent to which other IP address, which IP address sent to which websites, at what times of the day did they do that. And then if I could map back and find that this IP address belongs to this student, I can now start analysing what that particular person did. So again, a traffic analysis attack is quite easy. We saw yesterday a masquerade attack was quite easy with email, also with other services. In fact, the replay and modification attacks are related to those two. So they're a little bit more complicated to get them working well, because you need to intercept before it gets to the destination, not just. The point is, it is many places for these attacks to take place. Therefore, we need strong techniques to prevent them or detect them. And that's what we'll get into next. So we listed some security services that we want to provide to try and prevent or detect attacks. And how do we provide those services? We use a set of security mechanisms. And many of the mechanisms are based upon cryptographic techniques. So what we're going to talk about in a moment is what are those cryptographic techniques. Encryption is a key, a very important technique. The last couple of slides, very quickly we can say, with regards to a strategy for computer security or a set of principles. Normally what we start with for an organisation or a set of years after we set up a policy, what's our aim in terms of securing our computer system? What are we supposed to do with the computer security techniques? So we gave examples yesterday of policy for SIT, one student cannot access the grades of other students, and many other set of rules, usually informally stated, that we have an idea of what we want to achieve. And in fact there may be many different rules that we want to define in setting up a just get the grades of another student? What happens then? Do we lose a lot of money, or does a student get upset, or something else happens? And what's the probability that attacks will take place? So an organisation should consider all these factors to come up with a security strategy. And they often need to consider trade-offs like implementing security mechanisms to implement the strategy versus making it easy for the users to use the system. And many of the security mechanisms will have a cost to pay, a direct or indirect financial cost. So we need to consider what's the cost of implementing those security mechanisms versus the cost of an attack taking place, us failing and having to recover. So sometimes, even though we should implement a security mechanism, it may have a very high cost, and it may be a cheaper option not to implement it and just recover if some attack does take place. So that's what the policy tries to identify those trade-offs. Then the organisation will implement a set of mechanisms to try to complete that policy and focus on how to prevent, detect, respond, and recover to attacks. And we look at techniques for implementing them. And then they need to do assurance. They want to have some confidence that the techniques they've used will work as intended, and they want to do some evaluation to make sure that the techniques are working. It's no good to implement the security mechanisms and then find out that they don't achieve our original policy ideas. We will not cover these details of security policies in this course, but be aware that there are a number of ways to develop a security policy for an organisation, doing risk analysis, identifying the trade-offs, and doing assurance checks to make sure that implementations work correctly. We will stop this topic. There is an information security principles listed there, but they probably don't make much sense to you until we explain each of them. I will later provide you a document with a definition of each, but I think as we go through the next few topics, we'll come back and some of these principles will be identified, especially things like privileges, least and separation of privilege, open design, we'll see when we talk about cryptography, defense in depth. So I'll explain them as we go through the next few topics, not now. They actually come from another document from NIST, which I will have a link to on the course website. So that finishes our introduction to security. In summary, we want to achieve the objectives normally of confidentiality, keeping our data secret, integrity, making sure